Alright, so I've got a non-Fortnite video for you here. This is about the PlayStation 5 price increase. Now, I will have some Fortnite gameplay in the background just in case you're interested in that at least. But if you haven't heard by now, today marks the day where the PlayStation 5 consoles have all been increased in price. Now, if you're like me, you may be scratching your head because if you think back, when did the PS5 first come out? Well, it was released on November 12th, 2020. So it's 5 years ago that the PS5 was first introduced in the US. So why, 5 years later, is the price of the PlayStation 5 going up instead of down? And how much, even, is it going up? So first of all, let's take a look at the official post by Sony themselves. This is from the Vice President of Sony Entertainment. And it says, new prices effective starting on August 21st, which is today. Similar to many global businesses, we continue to navigate a challenging economic environment. As a result, we've made the difficult decision, to increase the recommended retail price for PlayStation 5 consoles in the US starting on August 21st. The updated recommended retail price for PlayStation 5 consoles in the US are as follows. PlayStation 5 Normal, $549.99. PlayStation 5 Digital, $499.99. PlayStation 5 Pro, $749.99. The recommended retail prices for PlayStation 5 accessories remain unchanged, and we have no other price changes to announce for additional markets. Well, I guess that part's good, that they're not hiking the price of controllers, which are already outrageously expensive. But these are the new prices right here. Now, how much did they used to cost? Well, that depends, because when PlayStation 5 first came out, the prices were different. They got a price increase midway through the lifespan. But let's say just yesterday, if we look at yesterday's prices, you can just subtract $50 from all these prices. So essentially, the typical PlayStation 5 was about $499. The PS5 Digital was about $450, and the PlayStation 5 Pro was $700, around there. So they pretty much just added $50 to every single version of the PS5. So why is this happening? Well, Sony themselves, again, stated that it's due to challenging economic environments, including inflation and global market pressures. Whereas other news sources are saying it's due to recent tariffs on imports from China and Japan. So if you're not sure what a tariff is, our current president has been imposing them all over the place. He's like Oprah over there. You get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff. So basically tariffs are pretty much trade barriers, and they raise prices for things and they reduce available quantities of goods and services. So on paper, I guess they do kind of look good because the foreign businesses get taxed, which would be good for us. But unfortunately, it kind of works in reverse like that. Even though the foreign businesses get that tax, it's us, the consumers, who get uppercutted to the face because the cost of things usually rise because of this. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. But again, Sony's not blaming it on the tariffs. They're saying it's just due to inflation and economic struggles. So I'm a PlayStation fanatic. I'm a vicious admirer of PlayStation. I've owned every single console available since they came out. And this is probably the first time that I can personally recall that a price increase has happened when it's over half its life cycle. So just a comparison, the PlayStation 4. So back when it first came out, I think it was $400. And then they introduced the PlayStation Pro a few years later. And because the Pro came out, they slashed the price of the original PlayStation 4 from $400 to $300. And that's what you would expect. Midway through its life cycle, a newer version comes out of it, and they cut the price of the original one. But obviously that's not the case this time. We're 5 years into the life cycle, and instead of slashing the prices, they're upping the prices. Now, the problem with this is that it's likely to never go back down, ever. So sure, we may get Black Friday deals once in a while, and it'll probably go down $50 back to its yesterday prices. But it's always going to be this price now, because once they get a feel for people buying things still, they're not going to lower it. Why would they lower it? If we're buying it at this increased cost, they're not going to lower it. And again, I just saw this, but let's go back to the PS4 again. In 2017, which was 4 years into the PS4's life cycle, the console went on sale for $200 at one point during Black Friday. Remember, the original price was $400. So it was cut $200 for a Black Friday deal. And then in 2018, so 5 years into its life cycle, there was a Spider-Man bundle of the PS4 that was only $200. So back before 2020, we had quite a few price decreases on the PlayStation 4. It's just crazy to me that a 5-year-old console has just increased their prices. I mean, that's mind-boggling. And that also makes me nervous for the PlayStation 6. Because what's the starting price going to be for that? If the PS5 Pro right now is $750, a PlayStation 6 is probably going to start at like $800, which is insane. That's almost $1,000 for a console. So that's pretty crazy. However, it's still cheaper than the Xbox Series X, which is mind-boggling as well. So again, the PS5 now sells at $550, the default PS5. And the default Xbox Series X sells for $600. So even though they increased the price by $50 for the PS5, it's still $50 cheaper than the Series X. And the same thing for the discless drives. So again, the digital edition of the PS5 is $500, but the digital version of the Xbox Series X is $550. So even with these price increases, PlayStation 5 is still cheaper than Xbox, which is crazy. I think pricing these days is just getting absolutely insane. Pretty soon, people aren't going to be able to afford these, and then I don't know what's going to happen to the market, but we'll see. But there you go. Just a heads up, 7-Up. If you don't have a PS5 yet, and you were hoping for a decrease in price, well, guess what? It went up, which is dumb. So you're probably better off just waiting for the PlayStation 6. Or getting a cheap PS4 if you can still find them. There you go, though. I just thought I'd make a video about this because I saw this in the news and I was thinking, there is no way. Luckily, I do have a PlayStation 5 already, and it's fairly new because I had a day one PS5 and it was horrible. I mean, I had all sorts of issues with that. So I got another one not too long ago, so I should be in good shape. But for everyone else that wanted a brand new PS5, you gotta shell out $50 more, which is insane. So there you go. That's all there is to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like is always appreciated, and don't forget to use my supporter creator code, which is tabortime.